Hello, everyone. I am your host, Virgil Edwards. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Verge podcast. As always, the goal of this show is to keep you from the brink of ignorance and on the verge of intelligence when it comes to politics in the face of all that is on the internet and all that is especially in the liberal left-wing controlled mainstream media. You see, what we are experiencing days and now weeks post-election victory by Donald Trump as the president-elect of the United States of America is you see continued whining and crying and complaining. You don't hear these media types and these outlets, telling people stop rioting, we've got to come together. No, you see them, doing everything they possibly can to stir up animosity and to stir up hate for Donald Trump. We sit here and we see the efforts of Hillary Clinton and Dr. Jill Stein and Bernie Sanders pushing for these recounts in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. And a lot of their staff is like, this isn't really going to do any good. It's a waste. But you know what it is doing? It's causing people that think that there's actually something to be accomplished by these recounts to donate money to the likes of Dr. Jill Stein and others. I mean, she just needs to go away. I mean, she is pathetic. She's nothing more than a socialist hippie that never grew up. And of course, the social justice warriors continue to cry their eyes out. They continue to whine and complain, and they continue to attack anybody at all that opposes them. It doesn't matter if you are a minority that happens to be a conservative, they will attack you. Your children are not off limits to them because all they care about is the agenda. They have no shame. They have no morals. These people are walkers of our political society. Walkers off of The Walking Dead, the zombies. That's what these social justice warriors are. And in a lot of ways, they are much worse than walkers. On the show, these walkers, their only purpose is to devour living beings, whether that be human or animal or otherwise. That's what they do. But these social justice warriors, they're much worse than walkers. And why they're much worse is because they actually choose to be this way. They choose to support racism, sexism. Yes, they choose it because every bit of their ideology is centered around your gender and your race. They cannot discuss a single matter without it being about your skin color or your gender. Everything. I don't care if it's got something to do with buying something, or if it's about being able to work somewhere. It's got to do with your skin color and gender to these people. They choose this. It's not something they have to do. They're not convicted to do this. They choose to. Because it is the current flavor. And it's my hope that in the coming years, that flavor goes away. And henceforth, these social justice warriors go away. You know, we sit here and we do our best to live our lives the way we see fit, the way each and every individual one of us sees fit. But these social justice warriors, they think that individuality is a sin. They think that you should give up your individuality and join a collective. They think that the people they support and the people they approve of and the people they choose are more worthy of running your life than you are. That's why they are worse than the walkers. Because they choose a tyrannical approach to everything in your life. They choose unequivocally to run every facet of your life from the perspective of your skin color and your gender. And everything else is secondary. You know, we can't turn on our TVs. We can't go to department stores. We can't go to school without seeing some form of social justice warrior out there complaining that they're not happy. Complaining because their very emotions are not being pacified. You know, I mean, we got 18 to 22, 23, 24-year-olds in college crying to their professor, wanting exam extensions and delays of exams and everything else because Donald Trump won as President of the United States. We got social justice warriors having cry-ins on college campuses because Donald Trump won as the President-elect of the United States. I mean, these students are going into debt tens of thousands of dollars, and they can't do anything more constructive with their time in college than whining and complaining about an election. Was I happy in 2008 and in 2012 when President Barack Obama was elected? Of course not. But was I out there rioting? Was I out there complaining to my boss, crying my eyes out, saying, please let me off work, or please let me have an extension on my paper? No. Because I'm an adult. I'm someone that doesn't have my life run by my emotions. You know, the walkers on The Walking Dead, their primal instinct is to go towards noise and devour living tissue. That's it. these social justice warriors, their only instinct is to whine and cry when made unhappy. And then they whine and cry when you say no to them. And then they whine and cry when you do not adhere to what they want. And if whining and crying doesn't work, then they go to physical violence, vandalism, and otherwise destruction of public and private property. Eventually, it is my hope that this will end. It is my hope that society in whole rejects the notion of the social justice warrior. These people like to think of themselves as the next Martin Luther King or the next Susan B. Anthony. But they're not. They are much more aligned and much closer to the likes of Hitler, to the likes of Fidel Castro. Oh yeah, Fidel Castro is dead. The world is better off because of it. Yes, I said it. Fidel Castro was a bad human being. And his life is nothing to be missed. It's nothing to be celebrated. He was a cruel tyrant and dictator. And that's why I always have hope, because there's always death. These people, in their scrupulous amounts of power, can never escape death. And that's why we, as a government in the United States, should not be in the business of overthrowing dictators in other countries. Because one, it's none of our business. And two, because, quite frankly, it's not constitutional. And three, because death always has the final say-so in these people's lives. They will be gone. We just have to let it happen naturally. You know, in closing, in this episode, I hope that people begin to understand that there is nothing to be proud of when you don't think for yourself, when you follow political correctness. Do I want people to be civil and kind and caring for each other? Of course I do. But when that comes at the price of having your individuality, your freedom of will, freedom of choice taken away from you, that's not anything I can support at all. And I hope that you will share this with your friends and family. And I hope that you continue to support me and support this show, The Verge Podcast. Until the next episode, continue to stay on the verge of intelligence